One thing I've noticed a lot of recently in FireFall is the amount of players asking how to get things or perform actions that are covered in the intro missions. This struck me as a bit odd till I spoke to a few people who said they struggled to complete some of these missions and haven't actually finished off the first 5 or so quests. I'm hoping that with this tutorial I can shed some light on how to go about completing these missions to allow all players to unlock the Sonic Detonators, Scan Hammer and Tiny Thumper blueprint. Once you land and disembark the dropship, the first mission you receive automatically is to connect to the SIN, or Shared Intelligence Network. This is simply a case of follow the waypoints that appear until you reach the SIN tower, then press and hold the Interact button, by default assigned to the E key on your keyboard, to connect to the network. To help you get acquainted with the controls of moving around the game world, you will receive a few tips that appear on the screen as you're running about. These cover basic movement controls as well as how to execute certain special moves. I covered these in the first chapter, but for a recap, just in case. W, A, S and D on the keyboard provide your basic movement. The left mouse button is your fire primary weapon. Right mouse button is secondary fire, or if your weapon has no secondary fire, it will either switch you into scope or iron sights mode. Middle mouse will toggle you between first and third person mode. The spacebar when tapped will cause a jump, and if you press and hold the spacebar it will trigger your jet boots, allowing you to fly upwards. Finally, holding the shift button will allow you to sprint. The number keys from 1 to 4 will allow you to access certain items in your inventory. Again, I'll cover this in a bit more detail when we access things like the scan hammer and the other moves later. Okay, so we've now reached the SIN uplink. If you press and hold the Interact button until the Interact animation completes, the Interact animation itself, you'll do both a manual interaction with your hands on your character on screen. You've also got a blue timer around the outside of the hand icon which will slowly count down. Once it's gone, interaction's done. You'll get a very brief mission overview about what the SIN network is, how it works. This part here actually says the green area. On my screen it's blue, as you noticed there. The outside blue area is basically outside the SIN for this area. Once you walk into that section, you'll be told you've disconnected from the SIN, so you'll no longer receive updates from missions and things like that. You'll need to find a SIN uplink in the blued out area to then get to the next, to then uplink back into the network with everybody else. Once you've done all this, you'll get a brief chat from your companions, who will then inform you of your next mission, which is to help out the local water moisture farm. Now, I highly recommend, before we head on to the next mission, to head to the local spawn point and to change your loadout to Engineer. Again, I covered the Engineer and the spawn point and all the loadouts and that, what you can get in the Battle Frames chapter 1. If you need that, the link will be in the description below. The Engineer is quite a handy battle frame, as I've mentioned before, purely because of the little turret, and it does make these missions a hell of a lot easier, providing you can sort of set all your equipment up correctly. I actually did an awful run of this the first time, where I took the glider point, landed, and managed to aggro every single beast in a 5 mile radius. So I won't be playing that clip back. What I'll do is I'll fade out to the correct clip where you can actually see me taking down everything and looking properly professional while I do it. As we covered in chapter 2, gliders are the best way of getting around anywhere you've got to go in Copacabana. Gliders will get you there and quickly. So I'm grabbing the glider and flying out to the objective point, this time making sure not to crash into any nests on the way. Once you get here, find the objective, interact with it, that'll complete it. Now at this point I got attacked, and I don't know whether this is part of the quest or whether this is just a random attack that I happen to wander into. Your next mission is to kill 20 of these guys anyway, so the best way I found of doing this is to find a high ground somewhere and hide up there. Set your turret up, hide on the high ground and just shoot them from hanging over the edge. Although, as you'll see in a second, when I place my turret I sit it too far. It's basically sat in the centre of the rock, it can't hit anything. Really, you want to put it nearer the edge so it can aim down over the edge of it. From here, I managed to take out most of them before I die, so I'm just going to speed this up so we can get this out of the way. Again, as I said, it's kill 20 of these, it's pretty straightforward. They do jump up, even though you're on the high ground, they can jump quite high. As you'll see, 1 or 2 might get caught by the gun as they come up high enough, which again, is probably a good reason I stayed near the gun. My one biggest problem was where I tried to move the gun later on. My attempt to move it down so I could have it attack more things on the ground and resulted in my death, as you'll see in a second. So once you've got it set up and you're safe, don't worry about moving it around too much, just kill everything. Here's my movement attempt. As you see, I tried running down, putting the gun on the floor, dead. I took an arachnid thing to the face. Not a wise idea. Anyway, I'll cut the running about. This is me trying to get back out there again. For some reason this jump pad decided to not trigger properly the first time I ran across it. Second time was fine, so off we go again. I've picked a slightly different area to work from now. As you can see, the beach over there just to the right was where I was before. gone a bit further left to where this coral is. And basically I'm going to find a choke point now I can set up in and just use... Oh, look, there's one over there, conveniently enough. Choke points are the best when it comes to using the turret because it doesn't have to worry about switching targets. It's a bit crap when it comes to picking out different targets, so I try and have it set up so it's got a range in front of it can deal with. It can rotate 360, as you'll see a couple of times. It turns around entirely to shoot behind it. Much easier just to have it focus on what's in front of it, though. Again, with the turret, as I've mentioned before, once you've placed it down, if you then interact with it at full health, it will upgrade to level 2. And that is a hell of a lot more efficient at killing, a hell of a lot more efficient way of killing things. Okay, so there's mission complete. So our next quest is to go and talk to Ratchet again. She gets a waypoint sat on her head so we know exactly where she is. The easiest way to get back to her is literally just to hold shift and run. So a combination of jet booting and running, get back to where you got to be. I'm just going to speed the video up because you don't really want to see me running all the way back across the fields. Okay, so here she is. Ratchet is just here by the edge of the forge. You speak to her, she'll complete the mission. To interact with a person, by the way, you just need to tap E, not hold it. And she'll give you the next quest. And now the next quest is quite a fun one, actually, because it teaches you how to collect minerals in the game world, or the basic mineral collection, which we'll go into in more detail a bit further ahead. Simply, to collect minerals, you blow stuff up, which is probably the best mineral gathering system I've ever worked with. It's nice and easy to do. You basically run up to a mineral node, slap an explosive device on it, blow it up, collect the minerals, move on to the next node, as I am about to demonstrate. Now, the game gives you an area where some of the minerals have been found. You will find minerals all over the place later on. This is more of a training mission on how to do this. So here you go, here's your mineral deposit. Now, this is where I mentioned about your number key corresponding to your inventory. The number 4 key will let you use an inventory item. As you can see now, my bar down the bottom has expanded. Number 1 is the turret, number 4 is the explosive charge. Look at the object, press 4 to throw the charge, give it a couple of seconds while it detonates, problem solved. Just run in it to pick up the floating rocks. You don't need to press anything, just run towards them. Now, I believe she wants 10 of these or so run around and collect them all. Once you've got all of them in your bags, you'll get flagged to go back to her. So again, I'll skip this forward a bit. Okay, once we're back at Ratchet, talk to her, she'll complete the mission, and she'll give you the next one, which is a crafting-based mission. Now, the crafting system in this does seem a bit overwhelming at first. It's, again, quite simple once you understand how it works. It's just getting to that point where you understand it. So I'm going to try and break it down as best I can. This is the, what I call the Nano Forge. I'm pretty sure it's got a proper name. Basically, you want one of these terminals, hit E to interact with it. It's a bit buggy in the beta at the moment where occasionally you'll interact with it and it won't do anything. As you can see here, I go through about 3 or 4 terminals before one of them finally acknowledges me. Once you get to one that does work, you'll get the crafting screen appear, which will show you your inventory down one side. Actually, no, it doesn't. It shows you your research inventory down one side, and it shows you the crafting screen on the other. Now, to start with, you have no slots in the manufacturing terminal, so you need to click on Purchase to buy a slot. Once you've purchased a slot, you can then start using your blueprints. Now, you notice down the side you've got your blueprints. You've got single-use, reusable templates, refining processes, and research and development. Now, single-use templates are one-shot ones. You get them when you level up, things for like weapons, bits like that. The ones we're after are research and development. So, as you can see now, I've got a slot that's opened up in the top of the manufacturing terminal, and I now want the bottom tab for research and development. In here, you've got 2 items that I've earned. One is the research blueprint for the MPU that she gave me a second ago, and the other one is for the sonic detonators. We'll come back to the sonic detonators later. What I'm going to do for now is right-click on that, hit proceed. It tells you it's going to take 20 seconds. Crafting is done in real time, So once you've loaded it in there, you can just walk away from the terminal, go and do something else and come back later. But for 20 seconds, I can stand there and let it tick through. It's not a problem. Once it's finished, hover your mouse over the little sidebar and you'll get an unload option appear. Click on that and it will then tell you what you've been rewarded with. You'll get the original blueprint back and you'll get the item you need to insert. Once you've got that, Ratchet and your companion will then let you know that you've got all the bits you need and you need to go and insert it into a terminal. So our next objective now is to insert this MPU into the water purifier, the master water purifier switch. When you put it in there, it will then propagate the plans across the other ones and they then know what they've got to do or something. I wasn't really paying attention to the story at this point. Glider all the way away again. As you can see, it's a bit over the far side. I could have taken the launch pad over the other side. I was just too lazy to run all the way across the island. It's a simple case of gliding all the way down. And when we get there, you'll see that there's currently someone else on the quest at the moment, so I can't actually put my bit in. I have to wait for this guy to finish, so because I'm there, I'm going to help him out and clear out what he's got there. It also gives me a bit of time just to set the turret up ready to go. As you can see, it tells you along the top, event in progress, please wait. So I'm not too worried about that. Pick a good point to place your turret. As you can see here, I put it so it's overlooking the purifier. My plan here is that anything that goes for the purifier will immediately get blatted by the turret. And while this guy is just dealing with the quest, I'm going to help him out. I'm going to upgrade my turret as well while we're waiting. I'm going to move out the acid as well in a second. And that way, once he's finished, I should be able to put my bit in. Some people do stay behind and help. If you help them, they'll help you. We're not in a group and I haven't spoken to him though, so he may just wander off. And in fact, if I remember correctly, he does just wander off after we finish this. Not really a major problem to me. As I said, it's easily soloable, this quest, if you've got an engineer. Again, this is why I recommended using the engineer. I have no doubt some people can do it with other classes. I just picked the engineer because I like turrets and they make my job a hell of a lot easier. Right, so he's finished his mission now, so I'm going to go up and interact with the device. And done. So it's now integrating. You can see it's appeared in the front of it there with the little blue circles around it. That's basically to give you an idea of what you've got to defend. That little area at the front of it is what they're going to attack. Working with my turret, it is very easy to defend this. I'm going to make sure I repair the turret. I do recommend as an engineer, keep an eye on your turret's health. At the moment you can only see it by actually looking at the turret, but it's usually normally within range of you. From there I either hide on the roof of the water purifier or on the roof of the house, just out of the way. The problem with standing still too long is those acid throwers will poison the floor. So try and stay on the move, even if you jump between 2 or 3 points. And I just let the turret work on them. I'm going to run around and shoot them and let the turret work on them. It takes, I believe it's about 30-40 seconds for it to complete, possibly a bit longer. Once it's done, you get notified that the quest is completed. You can't speed it up by trying to repair it. I did try. And once it's all completed, that's it. You can then head back to, I believe you've got to head back to Ratchet again. No, you've got to find a recon drone, haven't you? I'll go into that in a bit more detail in a second, then I'll wait for the quest to finish first. Right, with the mission complete, the next mission you get handed is also the first time you hear the mention of a thumper as well. We'll come on to thumpers a bit later. I've got a whole chapter planned on thumper and thumping and how it all works. This next quest, or mission I should call it, is probably the hardest one to solo. If you do happen to have a friend around or you can get in a group for it, I would recommend it, but it can be solo. And again, that's the whole point of this tutorial, is to show you how you can solo these quests. I haven't done it without dying yet, but I'd imagine if you got it right and you moved around enough, you probably could get away with it. And again, it's only a short glide back from the spawn point to get back here. Now this I found here actually, it was a one-off. It was just a random drop. Occasionally you'll find treasure chests laying all over the place. They've got like loot, things like that, and occasionally they have loot. Most of the time they've got health and ammo, but they're quite handy as well. It's quite nice to get random world things like that. This other thing I found here as well, actually, I'll cover this, is a repair station. It basically contains a medipack and a ammo pack, but it's broken. Most classes can repair it by interacting with it with E, as far as I'm aware. Once you've done that, you can pick them both up, heal yourself up, and then I'm going to head over to the quest objectives. As you can see, there's 3 of them: the spawning pools, the hisser burrows, and the thresher nests. Sorry. The spawning pools, in my opinion, are possibly the hardest because they involve flying creatures, and I hate flying creatures. Even with a gun turret, they're a nightmare. My original plan was to set the gun turret up on the floor. Problem is, it got overwhelmed quite quickly by both the flying creatures and the little land creatures. The second time around, I put it on a rock thinking they'd fly up and try and get me, and they didn't fly up, so I'm not sure whether I bugged the game there or what. I will submit a proper bug report at some point for that one. So here's my point. I picked this because it had a nice range of everything and it was behind a rock, so no one could get direct line of sight. They had to wander around and try and engage it. Once I put it down, fully upgrade it. Always, if you get the chance, upgrade the turret from the off. I can't stress that enough. Now, to trigger the first thing you've got to kill when the turret stops picking on stuff is to just step into the little bubbles that are around in the pool somewhere. The problem I had with this is I accidentally backed into some later as well. So here you go, there's the bubbles. You'll step into them. Massive, nasty predator that wants to eat your face. So kill it as best as you can. The turret should help with it. And as you can see, I jumped up here to try and stay out of the way and shoot it. The three little ones are probably more annoying than the big one. If you can take the little ones out, it gives you a lot more freedom to deal with the big guy. But again, it's just the time. And again, as an engineer, you're only using your little machine gun or your repair pistol. And I highly recommend conserving ammo on the repair pistol. Only use it for repairing. Don't use it for combat if you can help it. Anyway, as you can see, I am now running quite low on health. I've got almost none left, and I'm going to try and get back up there. And I didn't have enough juice, so I got stuck behind a tree for a couple of seconds. Trying to run away from the little flying buggers. They are going to come behind me and kill me, as they do. So I'm going to respawn. I'm going to just jump straight to that point again where you can see me handling the next two. This time, as you can see, I've set my turret up top and fully upgraded it as well. Problem is, I was expecting the bugs to fly up to that level to engage me, and they didn't. They kind of stayed around almost like a middle range on the floor. They're not quite walking along the floor, but they're also not going up high enough to engage me as an aerial target. They're just staying down there. So you can use that to your advantage and just shoot them from above. I'd imagine that'll get fixed in a future patch, and you'll watch me running around screaming as they come at me going, "Ah, bugs!" Finally, the last one, I triggered him from a mile away and just filled him full of bullets as he flew towards me. Again, hiding up here, using the surface to my advantage, just kiting him around as best you can. Now, once these three are dead, the next area that you go to is so much easier with a turret, as you'll see in just a second. At the second point, you can save yourself a lot of hassle by putting a turret down almost directly as you came in, just facing the skeletons that are there, the bones that are there. You'll see me place mine in just a second. It will pretty much sit there and take out anything coming from either side. So the simplest thing you need to do then is run up, fiddle with a burrow to find the drone. If you don't find the drone, run back to the turret, let it kill everything. As you'll see here, I'll demonstrate. Grab it, get the spawn, run back to the turret, and just kill it as it comes towards the turret. It's really simple with that bit, and there's no elite, I call them elite, sorry, there's no giant, hard-to-kill monsters or anything. They're all just these little bugs. Kill them, run away. Kill them and run back for the next one. Just rinse and repeat. Once you've killed them all, watch out for the fire ones, by the way. They explode and do a fair whack of damage if you're close to them. Always best to keep them at range. Once you've finished here, the next place you need to head on to is the Thresher nests, which are actually quite a bit harder because they're all big buggers, but we'll see them in just a second. When you reach the nest location, you'll get an update where you need to search the thumper cores. Now, these are wrecked bits of thumper that are just laying around, and they've got almost a hexagonal core sticking out of them. It does sparkle, so you can see what you're after. Once you've found one, if you just want to run up to it and hold the interact button, you'll loot it. You need to do that with 3 of them, and that should then complete the mission. Now, this guy here is the Thresher I was mentioning earlier, and they are nasty. They do a tail thwack kind of attack, which takes off a fair chunk of health. Unfortunately, I didn't have my turret down. I should have really put it down before I come and engage them all, but I didn't. So I have to play it a little bit cautious and try and kite the guy around. The turret, level 1 turret, will go down within 2 tail swipes, I think I worked it out at. As you can see here, there you go. He's already coming up to it, and it's just finished building. 1 tail swipe, half health. 2 of them will kill a turret quite easily, so I pump it as full of as much lead as possible. Then repair the turret and upgrade the turret. Now, 1 of them will attack you every time you loot a core. So the best way to do it is to loot the core, run back to the turret, let the turret work on it, and just throw as much firepower at it as you can to take it down. Once you've got 3 cores, you are done, and you'll get the next part of the quest about the scan hammer. And again, that's fairly straightforward to use, but you need to understand how it, not so much how it works, but the way it interacts with the environment. Again, I'll go into it in more detail in just a second. Right, there we go. So this will make this our last core, and I am nearly dead, so what I'm going to do is just jump forward. I did actually die running back from that, so I thought it made more sense to jump forward. As you can see, I've respawned, and now I've got an extra item down in my action bar down the bottom. It actually looks like a hammer. It is a hammer. For all intents and purposes, it functions like a hammer. The scan hammer is designed that you thump it into the ground, and it scans for minerals in a radius. It tells you the composition of the minerals underneath where you are when you hit it into the ground. As you'll see in a second, I'll demonstrate it. The quest gives you 3 points you can go to. You can go to any one of those points. Once you reach there, they then start instructing you on how to use the hammer. I set a turret up just to cover me while I do this. So I stand wherever I want, and then I just press 4 to use the hammer. And I just upgrade the turret first before I do that. So press 4, there's the hammer swing. As you can see, it completed the objective, which was one of the objectives was to scan for the actual minerals. Normally when you swing the hammer, you'll just get one box pop up which tells you what the composition of the ground is. There you go, that final box I had appear just tell me it's earth. The next phase is to call down a thumper, although I had a bit of a technical problem here and my game crashed to desktop, so I'm just going to reload in the clip where I actually got the thumper down, and I'll explain a bit about thumpers as well. Right, so I'm now loaded back in here and working properly. The thumper, or the hammer, once you've used the hammer for this quest, it then grants you a thumper drop pod unit thing used for singling the thumper. To swap between them, press C, it'll bring up a quick list of everything you've got as an equipable or what's called a cooldown in your inventory, and you can then just scroll through them using the mouse wheel. So in this case I've changed from the hammer to the thumper. I've pressed 4 again, put the target on the ground to where I want the thumper to go, and it gets fired at me from orbit by the looks of it, and it'll slam into the ground and start mining away at minerals. Thumpers are very clever bits of kit. They come down and extract the minerals out of the ground. Now, as you can see there, when you look at the thumper, it gives you an overview of its current capacity and its integrity. For this mission, you only need to fill the thumper to 50%, and if you're doing it on your own, I'd recommend sending it back up once it gets to that amount. The reason being is that the longer the thumper is down, the bigger the creatures it'll start summoning towards you. And there are some really big, nasty things that you don't really want to encounter when you're on your own. Now this is a tiny thumper as well, so it holds the smallest amount. The largest thumper type I've seen so far is light, which is one up from tiny. I'm not entirely sure how you get it. I'm assuming it's research and blueprints. Now what you just saw there was I did use the scan hammer to crush some beasties. It can be done. It's a bit messy and you tend to take a fair whack of damage if they're too close and they're already hitting you. But in a pinch, you can use the scan hammer as an offensive weapon. And as you can see, we're at 25%. I'm doing this at real time just to give you an idea of how long it takes. As you can see, it ticks up about 1% every 2 seconds or so. So you're looking at roughly 100 seconds to fill it to 50%, 200 seconds to full load the thing. Again, you won't full load it because if you're on your own, you will just get the bigger creatures coming at you. One thing to note is if a thumper is destroyed, you lose the module to call it down, the drop pod beacon. If, however, you send it back up by walking up to it and interacting with it, as you can see there, I can interact with it. If I push and hold E at that point in time, it will then tell it to retract and return back up into orbit. That's fine, you don't lose your beacon. If you send it up, you get whatever minerals it's harvested so far as like an add-on into your inventory, and you get to keep your drop pod beacon as well. So if you ever think you're in the process of losing a thumper and you've got the chance, send it back up. Best thing to do. Now this one's nearly ready to go, and I'm just going to kill these guys off and then send it off. There we go. And as you can see, it'll quite happily fold itself back up. There go the doors, or the legs, or whatever you want to call it. There go the thrusters, and off it goes into orbit again. Now that's the completion of all the quests. The last quest you get there is for a daily. It asks you to make a scanner and the other bits, and we'll go through that very quickly, just so you then have your own scan hammer and your own drop pod signal, so you can then build, in future, you can build your own tiny thumpers. Okay, so for the final mission we go back to the manufacturing station, interact with it to bring up the menu. And what you would have been given for completion of that last quest is the blueprints, or I say blueprints, you've been given the research information for scanning information and the tiny thumper drop pod. You've also got the research information in there to make the blueprints for the sonic detonator. So what I've done now is I've brought a second slot and I'm going to put them in there. Now this isn't making the actual item, this is researching the item so you can then make it. So basically you research it to get the blueprints and you use the blueprints to make it. As you can see, my thumper's completed and that's given me a hammer. So you actually get the scan hammer straight away. It's given me a tiny thumper blueprint and it's given me a tiny thumper as well. And then that one there has just given me the blueprint to be able to make 25 sonic detonators. And I'll cover crafting and making the detonators in another video. So that's it, you've now completed the tutorial mission and you're ready to go. Stay tuned for the other videos I plan to be putting out, covering again crafting, PvP and hopefully upgrading battle frames as well. But in the meantime, have a play around and if you've got any questions feel free to drop me a PM on the forum. My username is Aldinus.